Now, as y'all can see, like, I'm very excited about this video. Like, I'm very excited about this video because I love hip hop. Like, I really do. And like, a lot of the music that you're hearing now is actually rap music, which came from hip hop. Hip hop birthed rap music, it birthed pop music and things of that nature. All this was birthed from hip hop. Um, Now, I'm going to say this to try to get back on point. Hip hop is actually governed, and this is something that my ancestors revealed to me. Now, hip hop is governed by a deity that was found in ancient Kemet, or ancient Tamaray, or ancient Egypt. And the name of this deity, his name is Hapi. His name is Hapi. And Hapi was a fertility deity. But the interesting thing about Hapi is that Hapi was actually a hermaphrodite. A hermaphrodite. There's a hermaphrodite and there's hermaphrodites. I'm not going to go into the hermaphrodite, but a hermaphrodite is a male deity that looks like a male externally but has female genitals. Now, believe it or not, there are many deities that were hermaphrodites in ancient Egypt. I actually believe that Akhenaten was actually a hermaphrodite as well, the deity Akhenaten. But so when you deal with the hermaphrodite, the reason why they had the hermaphrodites in ancient Egypt and why they had deities that had male and female genitals was because actually women predate men. Many of you might know this, but I don't know if you do know this, but I'll go ahead and put this out now. Women predate men. But in the process of the male gene or the Y chromosome coming into fruition, you had what was like the breakdown of the X chromosome. The Y chromosome is basically a genetic defect of the X chromosome. The X chromosome broke down and transformed into the Y chromosome, which is where you get men from. But in the process of that, you had various versions of the X chromosome. And this is where you get the hermaphrodites and the hermaphrodites from. You get this from the breakdown and the deterioration of the woman, which became the man. A man is nothing but a deteriorated woman. He's a woman without a womb. That's what a man is. And I know many brothers out here don't like this, but I have to teach the right information. And that's why you can't really come into consciousness unless you come through the feminine principle. You can't come into consciousness unless you come through the feminine principle, because the woman was first and predates men. And the reason, and the way that I can prove this, excuse me, is the fact that males have the same organs on their bodies as women have, but some of them are functioning. And I'll give you one example because I don't have a lot of time here to really go into every single body part and things of that nature. But like for instance, males have breasts, but their breasts aren't enlarged like females, so that they can create milk, so that they can nurse their young, because they're genetic defects. We're genetic defects, so we don't have enlarged breasts or whatever. And our breasts are a genetic defect version of the female's breast. So and we have other body parts, as far as like even our penis, which is basically an elongated clitoris. Like a woman has a clitoris, a man has a penis. So a male penis is nothing but an elongated version of the clitoris, and there's other body parts. So Hapi was, if I'm trying to get back on point, Hapi was a fertility deity, and he was the deity of the now. He was a male with female genitals. He had breasts. And if you see a depiction of him in ancient Egypt, you'll see him with breasts. Now, where a lot of your homosexuals come from, which you got a lot of people that beat up on homosexuals, but most people fail to realize that a lot of your homosexuals come from hermaphrodites and hermaphrodites. Most homosexuals had a hermaphrodite or a hermaphrodite in their genetic line somewhere back so many generations. So this is scientific fact. So when you have a lot of homosexuals, now I'm not saying all of them, because certain homosexuals became that way because they were molested and abused, and some of them were just curious and ended up experimenting and becoming a homosexual. But the point I'm making here is that a lot of them, I'll say the majority of them, are genetic, are from beings that had a genetic defect. They were hermaphrodites or hermaphrodites, meaning that they had that in their gene pool. See, in our ancient doctrine, we dealt with a gene pool. We didn't just deal with like a religious doctrine like the way it is now, that Christians is like, well, if you're gay, you're going to hell and God's going to condemn you. We dealt with a gene pool, meaning that everything was based on your gene pool. All the things that you did, like if you turned out to be a drug addict, obviously it was somebody in your gene pool that was a drug addict, and that was an ancestor that you didn't master and that you couldn't overcome. So you couldn't overcome your genetics or your gene pool. There was no religion behind it. Now, I'm not saying that people should fall victim to some of these lower chakra things, because homosexuality is, like, as far as like the acts that they're doing sexually, is just as lower chakra as people out here having sex all willy-nilly out here and don't even know how to like have sex, as far as like in the proper fashion, in the proper way. Like, sex is very sacred. The whole aspect of sex was a sacred ritual that was abused, and that's how you get a lot of beings that even came here, period, because a lot of these beings that are here on this planet now are based on a lower sex act ritual, and they were birthed from a lower sex act ritual, from lower chakra rituals. So you can do higher sex, and you can have higher sex, which creates higher beings, and you can have lower vibrational sex, which creates lower vibrational beings. And a lot of these beings that you see now are lower vibrational beings. So that's where, like, why in ancient Egypt they dealt with the hermaphrodites, and you see a lot of beings that look like females would have male genitals. Even in West Africa, a lot of the beings in West Africa were said to have penises. See, a whole lot of people don't know that. I'm not going to go into all of this information right now, because this is a lot of high science, and, you know, most people aren't ready for it. I teach classes, and, you know, if you want to know more about all of this type of information, you have to email me, and I'll let you know about some of my classes. But as far as like what I'm trying to do now is just kind of like give out tidbits of information to break down certain mental blockages that people have out here, because they tend to condemn people based on this religious aspect that's like enter into society. What they don't realize is that really this was all about science. It's all about mastering the lower self and the higher self and dealing with the chakras, and it's all about science. So yeah, the deity Hapi is where you get hip hop from. Hapi, hop, hip hop. And this was something that the ancestors revealed to me, and I can prove this because he was the Nile deity, meaning that he governed the Nile Valley, the deity Hapi. And in hip hop, you hear a lot about water. Back in the day, when an artist or an MC, when he was like rapping or whatever, and like when he could rap good, and when he had hot bars, if you want to call it, or when he had hot lyrics, the artist or the crowd would say that, oh, he could flow, like, you know what I'm saying, like dude could flow or whatever. And that comes from water. Flowing deals with water. And then now you still hear a lot of people talking about like making it rain and things of that nature. Making it rain, like you heard Fat Joe made a song called Make It Rain. This all deals with the deity Hapi. He governs hip hop. And you even hear a lot of hip hop artists, they address a deity and an entity called Rain Man. See, Rain Man is Hapi. It's the same deity. He's just going up under a different name. Rain Man is Hapi. Hapi governs hip-hop. He governs the whole aspect of hip-hop. He sits over the school of hip-hop and the school of musicians. So, yeah, I mean, hip-hop has a deep occult connection with ancient Egypt and ancient Kemet and ancient Tamaray and our ancestors, and even ancient India and ancient China and all of that. I mean, hip-hop has a deep connection with that. And there are many words that are said in hip-hop that were definitely said and addressed in the ancient schools of thought and in the ancient cultures. So when you're just saying that these artists are just part of devil worship and they all in the Illuminati, you sound like a kindergartner, and you sound very elementary when you say these things, because you don't understand the origins of where these things come from. Now, I'm just going off the top of my head, but I got a lot of research on this information. And I'm going to share a lot of it through these videos. But I'm just trying to like start off with this or whatever to kind of show you how hip-hop is related in its connections to the occult. Very much connected to the occult. Very much connected to the occult. Now, another thing that I want to address is that musicians were actually MCs. MCs are actually magicians. MCs are actually magicians, and they deal with the power of the spoken word. The reason why I say that is because the term MC means master of ceremony. And this same term, master of ceremony, is a term that is used or that is used in magic, in the school of ceremonial magic. When you deal with ceremonial magic, you deal with a master of ceremony. A master of ceremony is the one that is conducting the ritual. He's the head of the ritual. He's the master of ceremony. And that's basically what an MC is. An MC is the master of his ceremony, or the master of the track. When he gets on the track, he's the master of it, because the track is not complete until the MC breathes on it through the power of the spoken word. Now you have other aspects as far as like the DJs, which are basically the same thing as the producers. Like, they definitely play a part as far as the ceremony as well, but the MC is the master. He's called the master, or she is called the master of ceremony, because the ritual is not complete until the MC breathes on the track. So that's just giving you another tidbit and piece of information to prove to you that hip hop is definitely tied into the occult in a good way. It definitely has a occult connection. Hip hop definitely has a occult connection, and I can go on and on and on dealing with this. Even when you deal with the graffiti aspect. Remember, I told you guys in part one about how one of the elements was called graffiti or whatever, or the art of writing. Now, actually, like now in the hip hop industry, they translated the graffiti aspect into the tattooing. So those that do tattoos are part of the hip hop industry as well, and those that get tattoos are actually taking part in a ritual as well, and they're dealing with the graffiti aspect of hip hop. So I'm just so excited in this video. I mean, it's just so much when you deal with hip hop in its relationship to the occult. So yeah, that's dealing with the ancient symbols. That comes from the ancient symbols. Like in ancient Egypt, you saw pictures all over the wall. They had a lot of graffiti in ancient Egypt, with the ancient symbols and the hieroglyphics, which were basically pictures. The same thing as tattoos, and it's basically telling a story and painting a picture. So the art of tattooing is definitely hip hop. That's definitely occult. Same thing. It's definitely tied into the occult. And I can go on and on and on. I mean, but I'm going to make one more point because I only have 15 minutes, and this is coming to a close. And I want to make a point about commercialism and hip hop. Now, hip hop started out, it wasn't about the money or anything. It was basically just straight up just the love of the art. It was an art form, and it just basically was dealing with parties and people just coming out having a good time. And then you had Zapp and Roger and all of these different acts or whatever that kind of like started hip hop or whatever. And like people made money doing it, a little bit of money, because you know it started from people throwing parties. It actually started in the Bronx or whatever, and it started with parties or whatever. And the DJ would go ahead and kick the party off, and the MC would come, and he would basically he was like the DJ's hype man or whatever. He would get on the microphone and do his thing or whatever. So that's where the MCing and all that came from. But eventually it became commercial. It became commercial because the powers that be saw that there was a lot of money in it, and rightfully so. And the hip hoppers wanted to make money. I mean, these people that started hip hop were poor. These people were poor. So hip hop created a $1 billion industry from the cosmos. I mean, check that out, man. Like hip hop was basically it came from thoughts. It came from thoughts, and it turned into a $1 billion industry, and it all came from the astral plane. This was Channel N. This was Channel N, and there are various deities that took part in this, but like I said, the deity Hop is the chief when it comes to the hip hop industry. I mean, he's the chief, and yeah, he's definitely a hermaphrodite, meaning a male and female. So that's why you have male and female MCs in hip hop. See, all of this goes back to the occult. But it's like if you don't really understand the occult and have an understanding of it, you're going to just look at it like devil worship. You're going to believe these religious folks out here, and you're going to believe the things that they're telling you about the music industry, and they are misinformed, and they're teaching you incorrectly. They're teaching you incorrectly. But when you tune in to 13 Signs Astrology, I'm going to give you the real deal, because I deal with the occult. And I grew up, I was born in the hip hop generation. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I was born right around the time, like about a few years after hip hop started. So I mean, I watched a lot of this stuff happen. I used to break dance, you know what I'm saying, at the age of 3. So I mean, it's just, like hip hop it means a lot to me. And actually what I'm doing right now is an aspect of hip hop, even just making this video. See, hip hop is very important when it comes to our culture and us going into this new paradigm. But kind of like I said, now like hip hop is going back underground again, because now what you're hearing on the radio with a lot of these new people are like a mixture of hip hop and pop. And it's cool. I mean, I ain't hating on that. I mean, Drake and different people like that, they're making hip hop and they're mixing it with pop. But as far as the true hardcore essence of hip hop, that's going underground. And you got a lot of people that are mad about this. A whole lot of people are mad about this, like, oh, hip hop is dead. No, the hip hop ain't dead. All the same artists that started hip hop are still making hip hop, still doing hip hop. KRS-One put out the hip hop Bible. He's still demonstrating hip hop. So it's still out there, you know what I'm saying? But it's just you got to go look for it. And the new generation are progressing, because hip hop it shapeshifts. See, hip hop has a way of going into all these different genres and mastering all the different genres. See, it has a way of going into jazz and taking over jazz. You have hip hop jazz. It has a way of going into R&B and blues and things of that nature, and then basically taking over that aspect and basically like going ahead and like demonstrating off of the R&B and the blues and things of that nature. So, I mean, hip hop has a way of just blending into various genres and art forms and kind of like becoming that. You know what I'm saying? So hip hop is deep. I mean, it's deep. It's governed by occult influences and forces. And I just want to say, God bless hip hop. May the universe bless hip hop. And hip hop is forever. It's not dead. It's always out here. There's always going to be a new voice out there, and then there's always going to be a new version of hip hop coming out. So I just want to put this information out, and I want to say peace to all the hip hoppers out there, all the underground MCs doing their thing. Don't let yourself sell out for some money or whatever. Try to be independent, and so that you can keep creative control of your music. Try to stay independent and keep pushing the craft. That's what it's all about. Keep pushing the craft. Now until next time, I want to say peace and love at all costs.